You know the expression, sometimes you F around and you find out. So now Joe Rogan podcast listeners are taking to the Joe Rogan message board on Reddit, and they're posting, wow, you mean Donald Trump really meant that he's imposing these tariffs, which are going to raise the prices on our goods and are going to lead to inflation? Really? That's what he's planning on doing? So here's what's going down right now on the Joe Rogan message board on Reddit. This is a post from someone named Hayden, and the subreddit title is called Education for the Nation. Hayden writes, "You've got to admit a majority of the country voting for a man because of the, quote, price of goods are too high, only for him to increase prices on his first day in office, has to be regarded as one of the greatest social experiments of all time." Now you go to the Rogan message board, and again, Joe Rogan hosted Donald Trump on the podcast, didn't ask him about any of these things for the 3 hours. It was basically just, Rogan promoting Donald Trump for all 3 hours. And for Rogan, who always talks about like Jeffrey Epstein and child sex trafficking stuff and all of that stuff, which appeals to his listeners, you're not going to ask Donald Trump about his friendship with Epstein. You're not going to confront Donald Trump with what a tariff actually is. You're not going to talk to Donald Trump about his views toward January 6th and insurrection. You're not going to cover that, but okay, what do I know? Here's what's on the subreddit message board. Even the Soviets weren't this brainwashed, one listener writes. Bro, I didn't know what his actual argument was going to be, so he's raising prices to stop the drugs and illegals? And then someone goes, yeah, the awful amounts of drugs and immigration from Canada. Right? Donald Trump said his plan is that he's going to impose blanket 25% tariffs on Canada, as well as Mexico, and additional 10% tariffs on goods from China, which in reality is just a tax on American companies who import the stuff, which in turn is just passed on to the consumer in the form of prices being raised on consumer goods, essentially the level of the tariff plus an additional margin. Then someone, a Joe Rogan listener goes, which makes no sense. Tariffs aren't going to stop the sale of illegal drugs. One of the things Donald Trump says is, look, we're doing this until Mexico stops selling fentanyl. By the way, about 90% of the fentanyl inside the United States comes from Americans. 99.9% of the fentanyl market in America is Americans. That's where the demand comes from. And the supply also comes from 88-90% Americans who are the ones bringing these in. So like, for example, J.D. Vance talking about his mother's opioid addiction. I think she got her drugs where she was working as a nurse. That's what got her addicted to these things. So anyway, other people on the Rogan message board are saying, how do tariffs stop drugs being smuggled across the border? Another Rogan listener says, that's the fun part. They don't. So the goods become more expensive than the drugs? Cocaine? No thanks, I'll take a banana. And then somebody goes, so the first day is going to involve mass deportations and tariffs? Curious how this will play out, to which someone responds, Joe, referring to Rogan, Joe will be fine, and cheaper taxes. Good luck for the rest of y'all. And then they give a kind of a fake quote from Joe Rogan where it goes, I just love all this freedom. That's a mega rich, paranoid podcaster, Joe Rogan speaking. Someone else writes, economic collapse, record unemployment, billionaires win, we lose again.
All right, let's get real. Who decided that wearing stiff, uncomfortable pants was the key to looking good? Seriously, every year I dread holiday events because looking sharp always came with a side of discomfort. But not anymore. This year I'm giving myself the gift of comfort and style with Public Rec's Daymaker pants. These pants are a game changer. They feel like your favorite sweats, but look like tailored dress pants. I'm talking super stretchy, breathable fabric with an elastic waistband. Whether I'm lounging during a holiday movie marathon, demolishing washing leftovers, or let's be honest, surviving that awkward holiday party, Daymaker pants have me covered. Give the gift of comfort to yourself or someone you love this holiday season with Public Rec's Daymaker pants. And for a limited time, you can get 20% off your entire order with code Meidas at publicrec.com. That's 20% off when you use promo code Meidas, M-E-I-D-A-S, at publicrec.com. I've been wearing Public Rec's Daymaker pants nonstop since they showed up at my door, and let me tell you, they are everything they promised to be. I took them on a recent trip, and not only were they ridiculously comfortable, but they also kept me looking sharp enough for both travel days and dinners out. I've had friends ask, where'd you get those pants? And when I tell them they're as comfy as sweats, they are blown away. The best part, Public Rec lets you pick your exact size. None of that small, medium, large nonsense. I got my perfect fit, and now I'm wondering why all pants are not made this way. Plus, with 10 colors to choose from, like navy, stone gray, and dark olive, there is something for every style. These pants are made from a proprietary blend of performance materials, so they're breathable, stretchy, and hold their shape no matter what. And while the Daymaker pants are the star of the show, Public Rec has a ton of other wardrobe essentials. Polos, hoodies, shorts, you name it. You could basically redo your whole closet with this brand. I mean, I'm currently wearing my Public Rec shirt and pants. I really can't get enough of it. Stop suffering in regular pants and give the gift of comfort this holiday season. For a limited time only, our listeners get 20% off when you use code Meidas at checkout. That's 20% off with the code Meidas, M-E-I-D-A-S, at publicrec.com. After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Say goodbye to pants that put up a fight, because when comfort meets style, you have found Public Rec.
One of the things that I've been hearing a lot, and you may be hearing this too, is that really one of the things that liberals didn't have, the term liberals, leftists, whatever you want to say, that's what people frame. It's not how I frame the arguments. They go, they need their own Joe Rogan. Well, you can't just manufacture that. You have to be authentic with what your messaging is. And Rogan kind of peddles in a lot of these conspiracies. And what's important is that we still lead with our values. We make it, and you see from the people who are posting, who listen to Rogan, that if you can message to them exactly what they're talking about, Rogan kind of pushes them in this conspiracy theory direction, which, for some people, is a rabbit hole that they journey down. And they think they're doing their research and they think they're onto these big revelations. But sometimes Occam's razor, the simplest explanation, is the truth, which is here we have billionaires who hang out at Mar-a-Lago, who are trying to further entrench their wealth, and they are using their billions of dollars to basically convince people to vote against their own interests. And by the time people realize they voted against their interest, it's too late. So it's our job to make sure it's not too late. This is what another Rogan listener says. They're turning the billionaires. And this is how you message it too. I want to share with you what people are saying, how they're talking about this now. They are turning the U.S. economy into a poop and scoop scheme. I wonder how long they'll be able to get away with that illegal immigration and drugs coming in distraction before the less savvy among us actually catch on. The dumbest thing is many people claim to vote for him because of inflation, but higher wealth concentration among the affluent drives up costs for everyone else, while rising costs makes it harder for lower income households to accumulate wealth, worsening inequality. This shit is playing out all over the world too. It's like global billionaires declared war on the lower class, and the lower classes said, okay, just as long as I get to hate on immigrants and trannies. Someone else goes, that's exactly what it is. Find a scapegoat, shift the blame. If it wasn't obvious after the cat and dog thing, then there's truly nothing you can do with some of these brainwashed people. Someone goes, and this is an interesting observation. Yeah, I'm starting to realize you can fool half the people all the time. The other half can be fooled some of the time, but that first half is conditioned to being fooled all the goddamn time. It subconsciously makes them angry too, which is then fed back into fooling them even more. To which someone responds, yeah, that cognitive dissonance leads to anger eventually. The mental gymnastics they do just to protect someone that gives zero shits about them is sad. Other people who listen to Rogan are saying, how do tariffs stop drugs being smuggled across the border? That's the fun part. They don't, responds another Rogan listener. So the goods become more expensive than the drugs. And by the way, I could go on reading more and more of this stuff. By the way, this comes at the same time as the leader of Mexico, their newly sworn in president, Claudia Sheinbaum, says that if Donald Trump imposes these 25% tariffs on Mexico, there will be retaliatory tariffs that Mexico imposes on the United States. That creates a trade war scenario, and nobody benefits from that at all. One of the things that Sheinbaum said as well, I'll do a whole nother video on this, is that actually border crossings right now are pretty low based on Biden's executive orders after Republicans refused to engage in negotiations on a bipartisan border deal, or they killed the border deal at Donald Trump's request. So because they wouldn't pass the laws, Biden implemented executive orders. Border crossings have been going down now for about the last 6 to 9 months. They're basically lower than they were when Trump was in office right now. So then MAGAs all use that to say, you see, Donald Trump did it. He did it. That's why border crossings are down right now. And it's just, they feed into that illogic. Now, I'll show you this too as well. This is Ukrainian boxing legend and brother of Kyiv's mayor, Klitschko, responding to Joe Rogan here, because one of the things that Rogan has been saying as well is he's been attacking Ukraine with Russian propaganda talking points and basically saying that Russia is justified for using intercontinental ballistic missiles on Ukraine. And when I watch Klitschko too, and it's probably one of the overall messages I want to convey in this video, is that a lot of what goes on in the right-wing ecosystem are men who bully and punch down and try to act like that's alpha. And that's just not how I was raised. And it's interesting that when you see someone like a Klitschko who's fighting for his country, who's like a real life Ukrainian version of like a G.I. Joe, and you take a Klitschko and you compare him to these like right-wing podcasters who pretend to be alpha and say all of these horrible things about women, I think it's important that we reflect on that and go, that's not alpha. And we have to address it, and we have to, I think, elevate authentic voices that already exist out there. We can't manufacture, we need to create this. No. We have to find authentic voices and uplift them. And we have to talk about one of the things that's actually happening, which is that there is a concerted effort by oligarchical billionaires to create this, or to foster these laboratories of oligarchy and autocracy and thrust that upon us. We got to push back. Here's Klitschko. Let's play it.
Joe Rogan, I listened to your latest podcast. I'm sending you this video to let you know that I disagree. You talk about these American weapons being sent to Ukraine, which you believe will lead to the Third World War. So, let me tell you that you're repeating Russian propaganda. Putin's Russia is in trouble, so they want to scare you and people like you. His war was supposed to last 3 days. It has lasted 3 years, thanks to the heroism and sacrifice of us Ukrainians. So you're using the only weapon that Putin really intends to use, propaganda. And this weapon really weakens our democracies. Putin's Russia wants to destroy Ukraine quietly. They want America to stay quiet, not great, but quiet. A great America is not an America that abandons countries that defend freedom with their lives. In short, you see, I have quite a few points of difference. If you invite me on your podcast, we could discuss them like free men.
there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. And let's get to 4 million subscribers together.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.